Hi, Nick. Nice to meet you.
You're like the first Viet fact check person I've actually met in person.
Really?
Yeah. What
That's
a crazy
awesome.
year this has been.
Thank you so much for having me over and
course.
doing this film. Yeah.
Yeah, it should be fun.
Hi, I'm Steph. I'm 27 years old and I'm a volunteer with Viet Fact Check. I've been volunteering since 2019 and I'm super excited to meet one of the co-founders, Nick, as we've never met in person. And we're doing this as part of the PBS NewsHour Student Reporting Lab's Moments of Truth series.
I can't believe we've worked on together on stuff for months and not actually met in person, but that's how things are now.
Not just months, isn't years.
Yeah.
And, I see your name floating around on Viet Fact Check on our spreadsheets. And I was like, oh wow, I finally get to meet
I'm
the
more than
Nick.
just a spreadsheet line, right? Yeah.
How did you start Viet Fact Check?
After the murder of George Floyd, there was just so much misinformation, not just in my community, but my family. These people that raised me that I love, it's we're just so far away from where I was, and I really felt very isolated. All these big tech platforms that are building products, they build products for the quote unquote average American.
Yeah.
Right? And the average American speaks English and has, a cable account and watches TV, and then they look for YouTube for DIY stuff or whatever. What we found in the Vietnamese American community is that we don't have a Telemundo, right? We don't have Univision. We don't have Vietnamese language, well-funded, professional media organizations aimed at the Vietnamese American community. And so YouTube to Vietnamese Americans, at least in my experience, is a totally different thing. It's not just DIY stuff. It's, it's a replacement for Fox News or for CNN.
I think there's just so much information that we're navigating. It's there's Facebook, there's Twitter, there's TikTok, there's Instagram. And YouTube is also in the business of making money where they want you to watch something else, what's up next.
Yeah.
Oh, you're watching Paris by Night. You might also like this other Vietnamese channel, and you just go down this wormhole of information that is in your language, that makes sense to you, that is digestible, but is so inaccurate, but you don't know where else to turn to.
I want to get to this world where everyone agrees on the facts and they can disagree about what to do about them. Because I think we have a healthier society. I would love for us to empower the Vietnamese American community to really feel like they have a say and they can decide for themselves who to vote for, right? And be involved and not feel like guests. One thing that I'm still super sensitive to is when my mom refers to Americans and means white people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're all Americans, right? This is America. Look around, look at the people that have the passport you have and vote in the same elections you vote in.
And so how do you make that more accessible? Is that language and how propositions are written?
Yeah.
Because I remember going to vote with my grandparents for Prop 8 and really trying to think in my head, how do I explain this to my older grandparents in non-English and do some type of mix of Chinese, Vietnamese, English?
It was so confusing, right? Vote yes to ban gay marriage. It's I'm so glad we're in a better place. We've got so much diversity, so much intelligence and passion in our country. If we don't make the most of our diversity, whether it's race, gender, sexual orientation, what have you, we're not going to make progress. And it's kind of leaving a lot at the table. It's such our strength. You look at other countries that don't necessarily look at the United States in the most favorable light as terms of a potential rival. The last thing they want is for us to discover our superpower and be full strength.
Yeah, with foreign actors, I remember being on Instagram when the war in Ukraine had first started, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's all these attacks on Ukraine, let me share this. And I got called out by a friend very kindly saying, this is Russian media.
Yeah.
They are trying to get you very riled up. You should look at the source. And I was like, I am the target for this misinformation, and I am sharing this misinformation.
Right.
And I'm working for an organization that's trying to combat it.
Yeah. I'm sure I've fallen for stuff too. It makes sense. I mean, it's getting more and more sophisticated, right?
Yeah.
And it's scary how you can weaponize fiction. Our parents, they grew up in a civil war.
Yeah.
I talk to other people from refugee communities. It's very common when you're running away from a collapsing country, you can see it happen again. And so when people are telling you the country's collapsing, unless you vote for us, they're like, okay, I can deal with no healthcare and no gun control
Yeah.
as long as like the country's going to stay intact. I think you and I both like share this like sense of like real injustice when people were being lied to and
Yes.
voting against their interests, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like the work we're doing in some ways is just a love letter to the Vietnamese American community.
We are giving back and saying like, hey, we're also here. We are just as American as everyone else.
Yeah.
Our narrative, our stories might look a little different,
Yeah.
but this is how we are contributing to this like great diversity of America. Well, it was such a pleasure meeting you, Nick, and I'm sure I'll see you on Slack and on the digital platforms.
Yeah, yeah, same here.